clients. Without them, your law firm would essentially be an adult daycare center with less cartoons. Your law firm exists to serve clients. So to attract more clients to your firm, you have to think about marketing your firm. Keep clients coming in the door, position, strategize, advertise, blog, vlog, FaceTime, billboard, bus stop, Skype book, Snapped-in, live chat. The lawyer of 2018 is faced with many choices when it comes to marketing, both online and off. And yet, there aren't any more hours in the day. There aren't magical openings in your schedule to learn about marketing. Until now. We're talking Legal Marketing 101 today on Lawsome. So let's get ready to hit the books and get you up to speed. Let's roll!
Lawsome, the podcast for law firms. Powered by Consultwebs.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lawsome, the only podcast for law firms with 9 grams of protein per listen. We're here to inform, educate, and entertain the legal community about the latest in personal and business development for legal professionals. I'm your host, Jake Sanders, and with me, as always, is the effervescent Paul Julius.
Greetings.
Greetings, Paul.
How you doing, Jake?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So what's on the plate for today?
What we're going to dig into this article I found on Forbes. Listeners are going to be able to click on the link in the show notes. But basically, it's from Julie Howell. She's a marketing director at Postali, which is a marketing agent for attorneys specializing in direct mail. Her insights are something that I thought would be interesting for me to get your thoughts on. And let's just break off a little bit for the audience. The name of the piece is Local Business Marketing. It's time to rethink word of mouth. I'll just read this little sample from it. When businesses claim that word of mouth is their best or top marketing vehicles, here's what they really mean. It's easy. A lead generated by a referral is highly likely to convert to a customer or client. You barely have to do any work to convince them to buy your product or service. Your existing customer who made the recommendation has done the work for you. But for every new customer you get through word of mouth, there are likely hundreds of thousands of potential customers looking for answers. So she goes on to kind of explain how lawyers can think of taking word of mouth referrals and making it real online using search. So she talks about a couple things: cost or effort level, and then the potential reach and the conversion likelihood. And then also the frequency. Is this marketing tactic designed to bring in a consistent, steady flow of new business? So when you take a look at word of mouth referral, I mean, how many, you have law firm clients here at Consultwebs, Paul, how many people think word of mouth is it?
Is it as far as the way that gets them the the best leads, or is really all they have experience in?
Well, I mean, just this article, how does it kind of strike you in regards to the clients you work with?
You know, I think most clients that we work with understand the value of clients referring other people to them. They understand that even though just this case may be worth X dollars, these clients have a lifetime value. And so that's definitely it, because, you know, I mean, think about it. If your car breaks down, you want to find a mechanic that somebody trusts, right? Mm-hmm. So that is valuable to me. I know that people I know wouldn't send me to someone who's going to make my life hard, or who's going to charge me too much, or who's going to do a bad job. Mm-hmm. So obviously, you know, these are things they want to cultivate. And I think a lot of firms do that through like mailing lists, through social media and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm kind of curious, like what the point of this is, where she's talking about, you know, cost and reach and some of these things, like with SEO and word of mouth, or AdWords, or anything in word of mouth. Like, how is this getting combined?
Right.
She says a combination of word of mouth and SEO may make the most sense, but I'm curious, like, how does that get combined?
Well,
like,
it's a really fascinating question. For those of you who have who can click through to the link, there's a graph where she says word of mouth, the cost or effort level for word of mouth is low, but SEO is also low. And something that's high cost and high effort is social media. But I can spend less money and effort on, yeah, I think it's really interesting. How did she tabulate these things? Because it could be upside down for certain people. If there's a lawyer who really is into search engine marketing, that's probably high cost and high effort for them if they're really cognizant about keeping their site SEO fresh.
It does say these factors will depend on the industry and the geographic market, but
Right.
then she qualifies it with saying a law firm operating in a mid-sized metro market. A qualitative evaluation of marketing options may look like something like this.
Mm-hmm.
I got to disagree with her cost or effort level on SEO in a mid-sized geographic area for being low. I don't think so, especially if you're in like the personal injury or car accident practice areas. I'm not sure where she got this information, but I don't see it as being low.
It almost seems like what she's saying, the frequency of word of mouth is inconsistent, and SEO and paid search is consistent. I've done paid search campaigns for law firms that were completely inconsistent.
I would agree.
Yeah.
There does seem to be fluctuations.
Right.
Everybody's, not everybody, there may be months where there just weren't many car accidents or something, or people don't have a problem with the insurance company. I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
I think what it's kind of looking at least what I'm kind of getting out of this graph, is that if you want consistency, you're going to have to work at it, right? So, and you're going to have to pay for it. So if you want things to be consistent and a certain level, it requires a certain level of maintenance, at least in my experience. And that may even be something that maybe she needs to think about with word of mouth,
Sure.
Like you need to, if you don't keep in touch with your clients, the happy clients, then maybe that effort here, maybe that's what's not part of her graph. Like that buyer's journey. If you look at any kind of buyer's journey for any kind of sales cycle, you have interest, evaluation, consideration, conversion. You close a deal, and then there's one thing afterward that's called delight. And they say that's after you've got someone who's invested in your product or service. You keep them interested by having these things that will keep them kind of top of mind.
And I thought of those things as loyalty. Like when I cultivated those things,
well said.
How can we keep these people loyal to us? Because then that generates word of mouth. But that could take looking at business strategy, looking at how do you settle cases when you're doing disbursements? How do you hand that off to the client? How are you giving them the chance to, do word of mouth, or, because that could take some cost and some effort, but it could come back in, pretty high percentages.
I would agree. And I think there's also kind of a bridge here, that there's word of mouth, like, we're out talking, having dinner, and it comes up that maybe you need a lawyer. And I'd be like, hey, I've worked with this guy. Trust him. He did a great job. Nice guy. Super responsive. That's to me, when she's saying word of mouth, that's what we're talking about. But there's another kind of word of mouth, I think, and that is online. When you see those reviews, like people look at stars. You and I have talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
5 stars, 5 gold stars on, even like an Amazon product. But when you get to, Google reviews, Facebook reviews, stuff like that, that's kind of a word of mouth too,
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it's the word of what mouth is kind of what we're saying.
Yeah, for sure. I think so.
I like it. If you want to go more in depth on this, we'll provide the link. It'll be on our show notes. Continuing the themes of marketing and lawyering, let's head to the interview segment with adjunct professor of marketing for lawyers and a lawyer herself, Helen Bukulmez.
And now, for a lawsome interview.
Helen Bukulmez is a practicing attorney specializing in the fields of immigration, personal injury, and Social Security. She holds a JD degree from Northern Kentucky University and certification in global arbitration from Queen Mary University in London. She's also an adjunct faculty member at Chase College of Law, teaching marketing for attorneys. Helen frequently participates in and presents at legal seminars, conventions, and continuing legal education programs, helping to raise legal professionals' awareness of the most effective and ethical online marketing methods. When she's not busy working, Helen enjoys hiking, cooking, and traveling. She's also the founder of Hiking Lawyers, a growing network with more than 1,000 attorneys across the country. We're honored to have Helen on the show. Welcome to Lawsome, Helen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for showing up and answering our call. So I just wanted to jump right into this. You teach marketing for lawyers. How long have you been teaching?
This will be my second spring semester starting in January. And I should probably give you a little bit background on that. When I first heard that marketing was not being taught in law schools, obviously that was not news to me because I didn't have any business or marketing classes when I was going to law school. And I would like to consider myself a relatively new attorney. I graduated in 2009. So if I didn't have the marketing class, then I assume that most people in my class also didn't. And I started looking into it when I was asked to write a guest blog talking about why marketing in law schools was not being taught and why it should be. Through my research, I learned that some law schools, such as Harvard, Yale, really big Ivy League schools, were teaching business classes, and they were preparing their students much better for the legal practice than the others. Of course, when I learned this, I could not bring myself to write about my law school and say, actually, my law school doesn't teach it either. So I wanted to give my law school the chance to say no before I wrote the blog. So I approached them and instead of asking, I said, you should teach marketing.
Or I'm going to write this article about it.
I didn't mention the article. But to my surprise, my law school, which is Northern Kentucky University, Salmon P. Chase College of Law, had a business portion to their education. Apparently, after I graduated, a very generous donor had granted a huge amount to the law school and said, I would like for this to create an academy where students learn about business, practice, and marketing. At the time I reached out to them, they didn't teach marketing. And I had a very welcoming, very open dean, Dean Rosenthal. I spoke with him and he said, let me give it some thought. And after some, back and forth and some conversations, they decided to teach it. And of course, I was right there. I said, I can teach it.
Imagine.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly.
And I already have a very good relationship with my law school. A shameless plug here. They really were very supportive. I never felt, neither the students nor the professors or the faculty in general, they never made us feel like this was a competitive, cutthroat environment. Instead, it was very supportive. Everybody's helping each other find jobs, find answers to questions, and collaborate. So it was a very good law school education environment for me. So in short, or in long, I made my law school decide to teach marketing, and I started teaching it. This will be my second time teaching, starting in January, and I've been very happy with it.
That's awesome. Well, so the students that are coming to you, they're young. I just read somewhere that they're removing the GRE, like for certain law schools. They just want people to come in.
You're probably mentioning the LSAT, the law school admissions test.
Right.
I am hearing that. I believe the law schools are becoming more competitive in that they want to have enough students in their schools, but they also want to make sure that law schools are graduating with marketable skills, not just legal competence, but also skills that will allow them to be successful in their professions. As you may have heard, in 2008, everything changed for our profession. In the past, we would think that once you graduate from law school, you have a job waiting for you, and it starts at least at $100,000 a year. And it was a much more lucrative, much more established career back then. Now, in my experience, it's just like any other career. If you're really good at it, if you work really hard, if you're marketable, if you have good business skills, you can make a really good living being an attorney. But I don't believe we have any advantage over other career choices today.
What's the first thing you cover with your law students in your marketing class? Like, what's the first topic?
Basically, come out and tell the students that the legal profession is not the same anymore. We live in a world where we are a lot more competitive. Our clients or prospective clients have a lot more access to information that they didn't before. They can do research online, find out what happened to a very similar case, and think that they can do it themselves, or that they can hire someone who is cheaper, whose rates are cheaper, and just handle it that way. So it has become a lot more competitive, and I want my students to know first and foremost that this profession is so much more competitive, and if you want to be in it, it must be because you love the work.
Some of these students are coming to you with no experience in law, but they might have experience in social media and networking. Is there something that established lawyers could learn from your new students that you work with?
I certainly believe so. The new law school students, although not all law schools are teaching marketing and business skills, some are, and they're coming out of law school with the understanding that it's not only going to be what you do in the courtroom. It's not only going to be the advertising that you may be able to place on TV, but everything that you do on a daily basis, everything you say, the way you present yourself, it's all marketing, and it's part of the bigger picture. In that regard, I just returned from a very good seminar. American Association for Justice held a marketing and management seminar here in Louisville, Kentucky, and I had a small speaking spot there. And I just came out and told the audience that if you don't believe you need to be doing marketing, that's fine. But people who are just coming out of law school strongly believe and do their marketing even during law school, and they are getting those really large value cases before you. So if it's your choice not to be online, not to have a website, or to be on social media, I certainly respect that. But that must be with the understanding that much younger, much less experienced attorneys are getting the cases that you want, and you're not.
Well said.
Yeah, Helen, Jake and I have talked about this before too, even to expand a little bit further beyond the concept of marketing to get clients, but in marketing, like in the sense when you're in a courtroom, you're still presenting yourself, and when you talk about everything you do, how your reception area of your office looks. You know what I mean? Like how people answer the phone, like all of that stuff is part of this larger image, that is important and does need to be considered because people notice it, right?
Absolutely. Paul, you couldn't be more right on that regard, that marketing is not limited to advertising. Just a little bit background there. As lawyers, we were not even allowed to market until very recently, after a Supreme Court case saying that attorneys are allowed to market within ethical duties as established by both American Bar Association and also state bar associations. But without marketing, we are nothing. And I'll just give a couple examples. When I am teaching the marketing for attorneys class at the law school, I try to share with my students that branding is a very important part of marketing. You can have all the money, you can pour it into TV, you can pour it into website advertising or online advertising, but what you do in person, in your real life, in your community, within your staff, or within your office around your staff, the way you treat people, the way you speak with people, it's all your branding. And even if you spend thousands, millions of dollars in advertising, if you're not consistent with your image, if you're not nice to people, if you don't treat them as humans, then that advertising is limited in what it can bring you long term.
Have you ever worked with a lawyer who is all in on marketing? And what does this lawyer look like? And do they ever get sleep?
That's a good question, especially the last part of it. We're very lucky today because there are so many channels of marketing that are so effective. And anytime I say marketing, it really means communicating with people, building relationships, engaging with the people that you have met, the people that look up to you. I'd like to believe, and that it's my observation, that as lawyers, we are the leaders in our communities. Although we may handle legal cases, we're in the courtrooms, we're in the bar associations. Most attorneys run for political offices. If they don't, they're very active in church. It's no secret that we're majority of people that I know who are attorneys are type A people. We're go-getters, we're very passionate. So it leads us into embracing the community and leading the community into that engagement. Not all attorneys do it, of course, but majority of them at least want to do it. But what you said is exactly right. It is a time constraint. I'll give you an example. I have a friend who has been an attorney for over 30 years in Lexington, Kentucky, and he's actually a client of Consultwebs. But what he has done in the past several years is he has established such incredible Facebook community just by himself. And I reached out to him to ask him a couple questions, and I said, "Hey, I'm so glad that you added me on Facebook." And he said, "Hey, don't feel special. I add everybody." That was basically his secret. He adds everybody who asks for his friendship. And what he shares has nothing to do with the law. He shares the pictures of his family, his kids, their soccer practices, the cat that he loves, the flowers he brings to his wife, or the little trips they take to their family farm on the weekends. And the engagement on that page is just so incredible, so significant. And it just shows. And he always responds to people, even if it says, "Oh, your farm is beautiful." He responds to people. And I reached out to him and I said, "Is this working for you? And how is it working? Is it just working for your branding? Are you getting clients?" And he shared with me right now, 70% of his clients are coming through that Facebook page.
Wow.
Wow. That's incredible.
Because he has his branding, his name already established, he doesn't feel anymore that he needs to pour more money into it. Now he's taken his name and he feels like a lot of people want to be his friend because of his name. He has that brand recognition. And I know from my experiences, a lot of people look up to us as their attorneys, as their confidant. Even after the case is over, if we stay in touch, they feel valued. They feel special. You know, so-and-so who is a famous attorney in Kentucky is my friend on Facebook. I can see what he's doing. I can see what he's thinking. He actually responded to my messenger message. So these are very little things, but obviously this attorney who's very successful, both financially and legally, is receiving 70% of his caseload through messenger because of the engagement he has built with the community there. So in short, does it take a lot of time? Yes. But if you are the type of person who enjoys that engagement, it comes easy. If you're someone who is very introverted, doesn't enjoy conversation, I'm not sure if you should be handling your marketing in the first place.
Well, I mean,
go ahead, Paul.
Okay, I just want to say, you know, Helen, you said it's a small thing. I don't think it is, though, because in my experience from the digital kind of advertising world, I see more of a pattern where someone will look for the service they need. You know, I need a car exit lawyer, I need a divorce lawyer, but then they're going to start doing some research. They're going to look these people up on LinkedIn. They're going to look on social media, on Facebook. Do you have reviews? And all of these things are validation because I've heard it from intake people. I've heard the recordings of calls time and time again. They ask these clients, you know, how did you find us? And what made you decide to call? And over again, I hear the same phrase, you look like somebody I wanted to talk to. Mm-hmm. So having some kind of personality, having an approachability, you know, making those kind of posts on social media or, you know, being involved in some way, I think really does make a difference. And I think when you say that, you know, this person's getting 70% of their leads from it, you know, obviously it pays off. And it's just being yourself.
And I do believe that it is the best type of marketing. When you can be yourself, and that is the best marketing for you, that means you have done your branding right. And that's why in my law school classes, I start with branding.
So that was part one of our interview with Helen, talking about branding and what that kind of takes and what kind of marketing that is. And next episode, we're going to go a little bit more in depth in part two with what is that brand and how do you make that message? And everybody talks about branding this and branding that. Well, what does that mean? Tune in next week to find out what.
For show notes, links, and info, go to www.consultwebs.com/lawsomepodcast. Be sure to leave us a review and rating in iTunes or wherever you find the you listen to. Until next week, stay lawsome.